But that's what Tom Kite did.
Yeah.
He put himself in that zone. That's what Michael Jordan did. Michael Jordan was a meditator. That's what Kobe Bryant did. Kobe Bryant was a meditator. We've talked about Phil Mickelson as well,
breathing,
who's also, you know, a meditator. That's what these, you know, whether they call it meditation or not, these top professional athletes have some sort of focus routine where they can go into their own zone.
I can't look back, it's too late now. My days are hours and I don't know how. But I believe the great is still yet to come. I won't stop fighting, man, until I'm done.
You said some things with meditation, like it's not trying to stop your thought process, because Lord knows I've been trying to do that forever. We teach, and it's one of the, when we do our basic series of 5 lessons, alignment is one of the things that we do. Now, I always, and Richie said we do it a million times, is I encompass that with a pre-shot routine. And there's a story from Tom Kite in 1992. He won the U.S. Open, and it was one of the worst weather days of all time. There was literally golf professionals shooting in the 90s at the U.S. Open. And after it was over, they're sitting at the table, and the reporters are asking Tom Kite, how were you able to overcome the elements? And he sat there and he's like, what do you mean? He had a very specific pre-shot routine that was within 10 seconds of the same routine every single time. He dropped behind the ball, identified 2 targets, lined his club face up, parallel, and went. He was so engrossed in that process that Mount Vesuvius could have been going off behind him.
Focus.
Right. So now if I'm listening to you and hearing you correctly, that pre-shot routine is actually a form of meditation.
No question about it. Focus.
I'm learning as I go.
So in my class, here, the words I use constantly are focus, concentrate, meditate, come back to the breath. When you're, you know, so what Tom Kite was doing, and I remember him very well, what Tom Kite was doing was exactly that. He was focusing, whatever his focus was, and it can be different for everybody. Everybody finds their own, and that's why there are so many different types of meditations. Okay, because some people like a guided meditation, some people like a quiet meditation, some people like music when they meditate, some people like to do it in different ways. And what Tom Kite was doing was he had this meditation routine. It probably wasn't called a meditation routine.
Called a pre-shot routine.
Right, and he may not have even known that he was actually going into that zone. That's what we talked about.
10 seconds ago.
Right. That's what we talked about, that zone. Right. I used to be a skier. Wasn't a great skier, but you know, I was on the Black Diamonds, if you know what Black Diamonds are. And I remember that there were some times where for 5 seconds I just was in such a skiing zone that I didn't even know what else was around me. I mean, I was aware enough that if somebody came in front of me that I would be aware of that. But that's what Tom Kite did. He put himself in that zone. That's what Michael Jordan did. Michael Jordan was a meditator. That's what Kobe Bryant did. Kobe Bryant was a meditator. We've talked about Phil Mickelson as well,
breathing,
who's also, you know, a meditator. That's what these, you know, whether they call it meditation or not, these top professional athletes have some sort of focus routine where they can go into their own zone, and that's meditation. They might might not call it that, but that's what it is.
I love this. Okay, so now with that as our backbone, because I think that's wonderful. For those, the Dashing Richie Stoltz, by the way, for those who don't know the Dashing Richie Stoltz, he holds all kind of records. He played for the Methodist team when they won the national championship, although not a starter at that point. Played for Rutgers in 2019. I put Richie head-to-head against the number 4 ranked player in the nation, and Richie beat him that day. So I guess, Richie, what I want to ask you is, from winning, you know, 4 NCAA tournaments in a row to setting course records to beating the number 4 player in the country, do you know, is anything resonating with you, what Spencer's saying now, as to when you're at your peak level of performance, well, you answer, what resonates from you?
So, breathing is the big one. So we talked about it a couple podcasts ago. When I broke the course record, it was breathing was what got me through the rest of the round. And then also focusing on one shot at a time, one specific target. That's a big one for me. One specific
target.
Staying
in the present, one target at a time. Yeah.
And correct.
Spencer, I got a question for you too. I do a drill at home, and you guys watching might think I'm a little insane here.
I know.
But what I do is I stare at a point at the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And I do that. I don't know where I got it from. It could have... I don't know. I don't know where I got it from. But I stare at a point at the wall, and I flip my phone upside down. And I start a timer. And what I have to do is I have to stare at that singular point for 5 minutes, but not knowing when 5 minutes is up.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is you start to get distracted here and there, and you hear a noise and you want to look over, but it's about bringing your focus back to the point on the wall. Do you like that?
Yeah, you're doing a 5-minute meditation is what
Yeah,
you're
okay.
doing. And you're focusing on, so sometimes there'll be, one of the reasons I light a candle is because sometimes I just focus on that flame.
Yeah.
Same thing as you're doing.
Yeah,
Same
yeah.
exact thing as you're doing. And then when I'm distracted by a noise outside or the cat or whatever the case might be, I come right back to that focus.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you talked about being. Get ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. I do that because on the golf course, that's exactly what
That's
I'm
what
trying
you
to
do. That's
I'm
right.
trying to focus on my target, and then, you get the distraction here and there, and you're trying to bring that focus back onto
That
the
is
target.
correct.
That
See,
way,
That's
it's-
correct.
That's the whole, you could just tie this in so many directions.
Yeah.
We would say aim small, miss small.
Yeah.
Like just to be specifically focused on target, because that's studies will show over and over again that people that focus specifically on a target are much more accurate as to being broad in general.
It was funny, by the way, when I played in the U.S. Open qualifier, the practice round I played with a member, and I thought this was hilarious. I hit a tee shot right down the middle of the fairway, and the guy goes, where were you aimed on that one? I was like, right side of the tree trunk. And he goes, wow, and you hit that right side. That's incredible. Do you do that every time? No.
Right.
I would have
right,
said
right.
yes.
Right,
Well, you
right.
don't.
Yeah, and it's about staying present. You
Yes.
mentioned that it's staying present.
Staying
So if you are thinking about what happened 6 months ago in a relationship, or what you're going to have for dinner Thursday night, you can't stay present. So mindfulness is the skill that we utilize, and meditation is the skill that we utilize to find that mindfulness. Meditation is a way to become more mindful, to stay present. And one thing I failed to mention is to do it all without judgment. Okay, because there's a lot of times that we're staying in the present, but we say, that was horrible, I suck at this. And
We get that a
so
lot.
so it's
Teaching
really,
golf.
really important
Yeah.
to when you are meditating and you're distracted, or when you are golfing and you're distracted, to allow the ego to leave and to stay non-judgmental.
Yeah.
Because once you get into that judgmental emotion, then that fight or flight kicks in again, and then you're flying all over the place. I can't believe I did that, or that was just get back to the next shot, get back to the next focus.
The one thing I'm thinking of, and we talked about this before the show, is and this was an SCA thing also from back in the day. They said the people that reach the ultimate peak state mentally in golf, they typically end up being target aware and not self-aware. And when you're self-aware, you're letting I stink. I hope nobody's watching me. And if you're there, you'll never get to greatness.
That's correct. Yeah, absolutely.
So let me do this, because I got this off of Headspace.com, and
Okay.
we're brushing up against the end of the show. Amazingly as that is, it said a day thinking about what could happen, should happen, or what might have been is a day missed. So I guess Spencer's point, Richie's point, my point is stay in the present, stay focused.
Glass of bourbon, ha. My bourbon, ha. My bourbon, ha. Alcohol. Because no great story ever started with, I'll have a salad.